If you've ever wondered about some of the things that you shouldn't do as a small creator, this could be the video for you. Recently, I've been really taking note of some of the things that I think small creators shouldn't be doing. And ever since I've started this channel, I've definitely made it a priority to take notice of some of those things that maybe small creators are doing that is potentially not working for them. I also know these things because I've done them myself. So obviously it's nice to be able to learn from your mistakes. And I feel like sometimes when I do learn from those mistakes, I can then go onto this YouTube channel and share my information with everyone so you don't have to make those same mistakes. So in this video today, we're going to be talking about some of the things that you shouldn't do as a small creator and just some of those points that I feel I've learned in the last few years in particular. And we'll talk about some of the things that you can do instead of these things to really help set you on the right path to becoming a content creator. But if you're new here, my name is Kaylee and I'm a beauty and fashion photographer based near Sydney, Australia. But I'm also a travel content creator and I started this channel to talk about all things business, freelancing, social media, and content creation. So some of these points that we're going to talk about today, you might have already heard before in the past, and maybe you already know not to do some of these things, but I think they're definitely good to reiterate on my part because I really do feel that some of these things are really things that you shouldn't do as a small creator. And sometimes if you're an aspiring creator or you're just starting out, you may not know that some of these things are actually considered mistakes. So I want to go through some of these things now and let's get straight into it. So for the first point, and this is a really important point, I want you to remember this forever, for as long as you are a content creator, it is important not to beg or harass other people to follow you, whether this be for Instagram, subscribing on YouTube, TikTok, whatever it is, whatever platform you're on and doing content creation on, it is so important to not beg other people for follows. This often leads to nothing. And admittedly, this is not really something I've ever done. I will say that I've always felt that my growth with my channels, with my Instagram, with everything that I've had social media wise has been fairly organic. And I haven't really gone out there and begged people to follow me or harassed people to follow me. But it is something that I do notice happening all the time, even still to this day. And this has been going on since platforms like Instagram actually first came into effect. And it still happens even to this day because people are so desperate to have their follower count grow. And I can't blame them in some instances because it is really hard to grow on a lot of social media platforms these days, notably Instagram. It's hard to get a following on there. So I can understand the frustration that comes along with that. And you feel that maybe it's just a great way to engage with people and try and get them to follow you is by messaging them about it or by commenting on their posts asking them to follow you. But I will definitely say here, this is not the right way to go about it. I definitely think there's so much room for engagement when it comes to platforms like Instagram, YouTube, TikTok. Engagement is always key, and I'm going to say this forever. I really do think that engaging with other accounts can be a great way of gaining followers, of gaining friends on the platform and being social. And that's what social media wants. So it's a great thing to engage, but when you're engaging with other people and begging them to follow you, I feel that not only does this kind of tarnish your reputation in whatever niche you're in, it can be really annoying, and it's not necessarily offensive, but a little bit insulting for the other person who you're asking to follow you when that's all you really care about when you're engaging with them, when you're commenting on their work. You're only caring about them following you back or them following you. And I just think it's kind of like an icky way to go. So I would highly recommend to never do this, to never beg for followers. You can absolutely still grow an account organically on these platforms. It is just going to take a little bit more time and it's going to take some certain tactics to really help you get there. But this tactic is not one of them. And I will say 100% hand on heart, I get these messages every day, even on my smaller travel content account. I get messages from plenty of people in the same niche as me every day, and they're always asking me to follow them and for me to engage with their work and comment on their work. And I don't know these people from a bar of soap. I don't know who they are. A lot of the time they won't even follow me first, which I think is crazy to be asking people that. That's just wild. But also sometimes they will follow me, and if I like their content or if I really want to follow along, I'll follow back. But I really don't enjoy being asked consistently to follow people on Instagram and on YouTube and wherever else. So I do feel like for most people, this is just a no-go zone. Don't do this as a small creator. There are other ways to build your following that are not going to be as desperate and definitely not going to be as annoying. Now, the second point is to not ignore the potential business opportunities that come along with being a smaller creator. I think that this is something that unfortunately people and content creators who are a lot smaller just don't realize. And I think it's not something that you realize until you've had a big round of experience with doing content creation over a longer period of time, that you start to realize that when you you finally start making a living off of it, you realize the things that you probably could have done even as a smaller creator when you had a smaller following. And one of those things just happens to be earning money and earning a living. And a lot of people don't realize that even with a smaller following, you can absolutely start to earn money and you can start to capitalize on specific business opportunities that you may not have even thought possible. Even for my YouTube channel that I currently have now, it is still a fairly small following at 8,000 subscribers, but I am constantly getting emails from different brands about different brand sponsorships, and I currently have brand sponsorships going on. I have had brands contact me for my travel account, which I think has around 1,800 followers at the moment on Instagram. So it is absolutely something that can be done, and it is not something that I realized until I started again in terms of a YouTube channel and from scratch on Instagram, because obviously I had my main photography channel, which I'd had for 10 years. So I was already doing quite a lot of brand sponsorships through there, but I didn't really notice until I started really getting into it that I could have been doing this a lot sooner. I could have been pitching to brands a lot sooner, and I could have been finding other avenues of finding different business opportunities that would work for me as a smaller creator. And I'm really planning on doing more videos based around this because I think it's such an important topic that a lot of small creators just do not understand at this point. They'll often say to themselves instead things like, oh, I'll wait until I have a certain amount of subscribers. Like I'll wait until I have 50,000 before I start a merch store, or I'll wait until I have 100,000 before I start pitching to brands or before I start going down that road. And it's not necessary. You can have a smaller following and start pitching out to brands now for brand sponsorships or for affiliate programs or for collaborations, product collaborations. There are so many ways that you can really make things better for yourself as a smaller creator and start diving in. There's no need to wait until you've even got 10,000 subscribers or followers, because so much of this can be done when you only have a few thousand. And I think that that's a really exciting prospect, and it is something to remember if you're feeling in that space at the moment where you've got a few thousand subscribers but you really don't know how to progress. I'm going to be doing a lot more videos on this channel that really talk about how you can start moving into that business mindset with content creation and start earning some money off of these things if that's what your goal is. But just remember that just because you've got a small following doesn't mean that you can't earn money. And this is a really important point that I want all small creators to realize sooner rather than later. And then the third main point as to what not to do as a small creator is to not commit to learning. I feel like this is probably one of the most important points as a small creator that you need to remember. Not committing to learning is such a bad thing to do when you're an aspiring creator. I mean, in doing content creation, you can be inconsistent, you can produce work that is not up to your personal standards, you can make a ton of mistakes, but if you don't commit to learning, then you're not committing to growing. So my advice for this would be to try not to find yourself in routines where nothing changes, where you're not learning anything, where you're not trying anything new, you're not experimenting with your content, you're not trying to improve it. Because as soon as you kind of flatline in that way, that's where things kind of go a bit downhill, I find, with content creation. As soon as you stop learning, or you kind of refuse to learn, or you think you've got it all figured out, this is where I think it always catches up with you, because there's always things to learn. Content creation covers such a wide array of skill sets, and I think there's so much to learn when it comes to this. You know, whether it's photo or it's video, it's editing, it's writing, it kind of encompasses all of that. So that's a lot of stuff to learn. And if you feel like you're not learning anymore, or if you're feeling like you don't need to learn, I would say that that's likely a problem. I really believe that the end of learning often leads to the death of growth. So really keep that in mind and make sure that every time you sort of feel like you've got it all figured out, you don't need to learn anything else, you're kind of at the top of your game, it's not always that straightforward and it's not that simple. And I feel that, like I said, there's so many skill sets across content creation that you can always be improving on, that you can always be learning through. So make sure to kind of not have that as a roadblock to you evolving yourself, evolving your content, because there's always going to be things to learn. Always commit to learning. Well, I hope these few points were interesting to you today, and I hope that you learned something new from this video. If you liked it, please give it a thumbs up, and if you haven't subscribed to my channel already, make sure you do, because I'll be posting a lot more videos in future. Let me know down in the comment section below what you think some mistakes are that small creators do tend to make, and what are some of the things that they shouldn't do, because I would love to hear your thoughts and opinions on this. And I really do think that there's a lot of small creators out there that need this information as they're kind of in that aspiring mode, as they're starting out. And it's good to have that kind of information sooner rather than later. Also, let me know down in the comments what else you'd like to see on my channel, because I'm always open to requests. But thank you so much again for watching this video today, and I'll see you in the next one.